Hey, what's up you guys, the Curious Owl here, and today I will be reviewing The Dragon Reborn by Robert Jordan. Just as a heads up, you can see here the little puppy butt. I have an Oscar up here that is going to be basically running and wreaking havoc around my library, so I apologize in advance for that. But The Dragon Reborn is the third book in the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan, so I would suggest that for those of you that have not read up to this point in the series, that you either go read the book and then come back to this video, or you hold off on watching this video in general until you have got to this point in the series, because I'm going to be talking about some things that are going to pertain to the other books in the series, and so there may be some spoilers involved, but I'm going to try to keep the contents of this book in particular spoiler-free. So, just like with the other books involved in the Wheel of Time series so far, this book has a lot of moving parts. There's multiple plot lines that are being developed over the course of this book, as we have multiple perspectives from pretty much everyone we've come to know and love throughout the Wheel of Time series. So we have Rand, Egwene, Perrin, Matt. Because of the things that happen at the very end of The Great Hunt, Rand, as our main character, becomes very fed up with the fact that everybody is dying because of him, because of the fact that he's supposedly this Dragon Reborn, this man that's been reincarnated over time to put an end to the darkness, or the Dark One, who is the villain of this series. Now, because he's sick and tired of people dying for him and dying because of him, he does decide to get away from the entire group that he has come to know and love over the course of this series in order to go face the Dark One on his own. At the beginning of this as well, one of our female companions named Min, who is basically a seer of sorts, ends up being sent away by the Aes Sedai Moraine in order to head to Tar Valon to tell the Amyrlin Seat essentially of the events that happen in Tyr, where we spend a lot of our time in the Great Hunt, which is where there's a lot of fighting and basically caused a massive ripple of things to happen from there with the sounding of the Great Horn that everybody was looking for. There's a lot of things that have kind of started to happen because of that, and Min has to go tell the Amyrlin Seat, who is a very long ways away, what has gone on. While all this is happening, Matt, who has basically been enveloped in this sickness following this obtaining of a dagger from the place Shadar Logoth, he is being transported currently to Tar Valon with Nynaeve, Elaine Tarkan, who is the daughter heir of Andor, that Nynaeve and Egwene met while in Tar Valon studying to be Aes Sedai, Perrin, who is another Aes Sedai, and Huron, who is a sniffer. He basically is able to track down paths through his sense of smell. And they all head to Tar Valon to take Matt there to hopefully be healed and remove his connection to this dagger that he's had since the Eye of the World that has been slowly killing him over time. Alongside all of this, the Amyrlin Seat, Siuan Sanche, and Moraine Aes Sedai have this whole thing going on where they're trying to figure out how exactly the Black Ajah are involved with this. Because it was revealed in The Great Hunt that the Black Ajah have a massive, massive hold on a lot of the things that are happening. They are actually really another kind of fighting force for the Dark One. Overall, I really did like this. I gave it a 3-star though, because unfortunately I feel like for the first half I really liked it and could follow along with what was going on, but the second half of this story I really feel like I was asleep through, because I had to do a lot of research after finishing this to make sure that I understood what exactly happened, and by the end of it I did realize that I did retain a little bit more than I think I had originally thought I did. But overall, like I said, I feel like for about half of this I was asleep through it because I was not as invested. I feel like that in general the ideas that were going on with this were really good. I really liked seeing the whole thing with Matt kind of come to a head and ultimately change, because I was really wanting something to progress in that storyline for a long time. Another thing I really liked is just the progression of the female characters, Egwene, Nynaeve, and Elaine. I feel like that those three of them have really grown to become like sisters, and I really appreciate how there's not a lot of cattiness that there should be, I think, normally between characters like Egwene and Elaine, who are both interested in a male character. But I feel like that Egwene and Elaine both understand that it's not necessarily in their best interest to be romantically involved with anybody, so they do kind of push their feelings under the surface, but it's for the right cause, where like it's not the most important thing in the world. The most important thing is, you know, keeping things from going too crazy. And I just really appreciate that this trio seems to do very well despite the typical thing that happens with males who write women where they become very catty. So I'm appreciative that that is not the case with these three. I also really like how Rand is not the center of the story for once. Rand does have a large kind of idea going on where he's kind of just ostracized himself from the community that he's built, but it's by his own choice for one, and two, we don't really see much of him until towards the end of this book, which I think worked best because there are so many other plot threads being involved here with Egwene, Nynaeve, Elaine, you know, the Amerlin seat, Matt, Perrin. There's so many other things involved in this world that it's really nice to see Rand kind of be pushed to the back burner for a little bit just so that we can see these other things start to be developed. Another thing I really liked that I was really hoping for with this one is that we got to see a lot more with Perrin and his abilities growing and what he's able to do, and the fact that he's in a lot of ways fighting with this ability of being part wolf in a sense and becoming a wolf and communicating with them. There's even a little bit of a romantic plot that he gets developed a little bit more in The Shadow Rising, but is brought up in The Dragon Reborn that I thought was so sweet because he's definitely one of those brooding characters that I kind of always hope to have a love interest by the end of it to kind of soften them up a little bit. And I got that, and I was so excited for him. So again, when it came to my dislikes, the biggest thing for me was that I did feel like I slept through the second half of this, and that could very easily have been because I was, in a sense, marathoning this series this month, and so it may have taken a lot of mental energy that I didn't currently possess at that time to listen to this and read it, but I did feel like that the research I had done really helped me understand what happened to where I feel like I didn't necessarily miss too much, but I do feel like the experience of reading this one was not as enjoyable as the first two books and the prequel that I have read as of yet in this series. So I'm going to quickly read the synopsis when it comes to book 4, which, like I said, is The Shadow Rising, and go through some of the ideas I have for that. Currently, as I'm filming this video, I am about halfway through The Shadow Rising at this point, so I already have seen some of these things that I had hopes for either come through or not, so I'll hold off on any of that stuff though until the next review that I do for The Shadow Rising. But I will say that I've already become very invested in this series, and I'm very excited to see kind of what happens next. So here's the synopsis for The Shadow Rising. The wheel of time turns and ages come and go, leaving memories that become legend. Legend fades to myth, and even myth is long forgotten when the age that gave it birth returns again. In the third age, an age of prophecy, the world and time themselves hang in the balance. What was, what will be, and what is may yet fall under the shadow. The seals of Sheol Ghul are weak now, and the Dark One reaches out. The shadow is rising to cover humankind. In Tarvalin, men seize portents of hideous doom. Will the White Tower itself be broken? In the Two Rivers, the White Cloaks ride in pursuit of a man with golden eyes and in pursuit of the Dragon Reborn. In Cantarin, among the sea folk, High Lady Suroth plans the return of the Shanshan armies to the mainland. In the Stone of Tyr, the Lord Dragon considers his next move. It will be something no one expects. Not the Black Aja, not Tyrian nobles, not Aes Sedai, not Egwene, or Elaine, or Nynaeve. Against the Shadow Rising stands the Dragon Reborn. Here are some things that I kind of have thoughts of before starting The Shadow Rising that I did want to bring up in terms of things I would like to see or things that I'm hoping for. First of all, I'm really excited to see more of Min. It does seem that in the course of my reading of The Shadow Rising, she plays a much larger role than I think I had anticipated, and so I was really excited to see a lot of that because, like I said, in The Dragon Reborn, she was sent off very early on and we didn't really get to see her at all. The next thing is that Perrin and Rand obviously are in danger. In the synopsis, they talk about the man with golden eyes, which we know is Perrin because he's had golden eyes since he's become a wolf brother, and the Dragon Reborn, who is Rand. So what exactly does that mean? How does that complicate things? The next thing is, what is this thing that no one will expect from Rand? What is it that he is going to do that is going to be basically a complete 180 in a lot of ways? And obviously, I want more girl power. Those are all the thoughts I have on The Dragon Reborn and going into The Shadow Rising. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, not my most favorite so far of the series, but I do think that this is a very interesting bridge to some very hard topics, I think, that are going to be brought up within The Shadow Rising. So I'm excited to see what that one entails, but I feel like that this is just got kind of the middle book syndrome-esque kind of thing. There's not a lot that happens. There's a lot of things that I feel like could have been very easily glossed over and were glossed over by me. If you guys read this yourself and you enjoyed it and have things that you would like to talk with me about in the comments, please feel free to. Try to keep it as non-spoilery as possible for everybody that does not know what exactly happens in the Dragon Reborn and would like to be able to read it. But other than that, if you have things that you want me to watch out for in the Shadow Rising or the following books, let me know. I would love to hear some things to watch out for without spoiling anything, obviously. But thank you guys so much for joining me in this video. If you guys did enjoy it, please do give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already and you'd like to be and would like to see more content like this, go ahead and hit that button down below and subscribe to become an owlet in our flock. And I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye, guys!